shall we begin?
Let the games begin.
All right.
A new age has begun. An age of freedom.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Get to the chopper!
This is going to be quite a ride.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian Renteria. This is the podcast where we talk about all of the biggest breaking movie news items that have come out throughout the week, along with the trailers, at least at the time of this recording. And we will talk about the movies that are out in theaters and streaming for all your viewing pleasures. Hello, welcome. It's I don't know what day of the week it is anymore. So, there's a lot of stuff going on and in my life, and it's just all getting a little hectic right now. But hello, I'm here to do the podcast, and that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm all out of whack recently, guys. It's a lot. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but yeah, let's just get to the podcast, shall we? Let's get to the podcast this week. Like I mentioned, we're going to talk about all the big breaking movie news items that have come out this week so far, at least at the time of this recording. And as I mentioned, a couple episodes ago, podcast is going through some changes. Instead of a big, long trailer talk, we're only going to be talking about one specific trailer, one trailer spotlight, if you will. And we're going to do that this week. However, I want to break that rule a little bit and just mention an honorable mention trailer that came out this week, which is the new trailer for Bones and All. That is a new movie directed by Luca, I always mispronounce his last name, Guadagnino. He's the man who directed Call Me By Your Name and the Suspiria remake. So this is his new movie, Bones and All. It's based off a book, and it stars Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell. Taylor Russell from the Escape Room movies. That's probably maybe where most people will know her from. It's a movie that's already had its premiere at a lot of film festivals, and the word going around the film festivals, it's I think from what I've seen, is pretty mixed, but mixed on the more positive side of things. So it's still kind of mixed in there. Different opinions on where they've been falling in, but from what I've seen so far, at least what's come across my timeline, a lot of it has been majorly positive. So I just wanted to mention that because it's a brief trailer too. It's not that long. It's about like a minute 25, something along those lines. The teaser trailer was like 30 seconds when it first came out, like a few months earlier this year, rather. But yeah. So there, I just wanted to mention that. But the spotlight trailer we're going to talk about this week is, of course, the new trailer for Halloween Ends. Universal dropped that new trailer this week for the much anticipated Halloween Ends. Whether you're anticipating it to be good or whether you're anticipating it to be bad, a lot of people are falling more in the bad spectrum. I still very, as always, cautiously optimistic about these movies, about any movie that I watch, really. So this trailer, there's quite a bit going on in this trailer. It's not overly long, but there's still quite a bit. It looks like Laurie, even though the synopsis that was released earlier, of course, when the first trailer came out, it says that she's kind of moved on with her life, and it looks like she's becoming once again obsessed with Michael again after something happens in the town, and Michael comes out of hiding after 4 years. So this is a time jump. Obviously, Halloween Kills took place immediately after the events of Halloween 2018. This is now a 4-year time jump. Seems that Haddonfield has moved on, but obviously something happens that sparks the town to go crazy and think that Michael is once again back in the picture, and of course leads to Laurie being obsessed once again. There are some interesting shots here. Michael is shown killing 2 random people in the trailer. One of them is a radio DJ, and the other one is a woman with red hair who he does his signature kill. He kind of pins her against the wall with the knife and does his head tilt, which was a very nice, cool shot to see. We do get a little bit more of Michael and Laurie fighting in the kitchen at one point. So Laurie looks like she's actually has Michael pinned down and is about to pull off the mask. And interestingly, he's shaking his head no. Like he doesn't want her to take the mask off. So this was a thing when the first trailer came out. The synopsis that came out. And it wasn't attached to the Blumhouse. So there was two versions of the trailer. There was the Blumhouse trailer that was on their YouTube channel, and then there was the trailer. It's the same trailer, but it was basically on two different channels. It was the Blumhouse page and then the Universal page. The Blumhouse trailer didn't have the synopsis attached to it. The Universal trailer did, or the Universal YouTube, I should be saying. So the Blumhouse YouTube didn't have the synopsis. The Universal did, and everyone was really paying attention to that synopsis because it sounded like there's going to be some funkiness going around with how it relates to Michael and how it relates to a new character in the movie. And this has been leading to rumors and speculations and theories about what could potentially happen in Halloween Kills. So that being said, I want to just give a little warning here on that. And from this point, I'm going to be talking about kind of the theories that I have unfortunately read and heard about from this. I don't think it's going to take away anything from the movie, because I think this trailer, even if you didn't know any of those theories, I think you may come across that now with this trailer a little bit. But if you've heard the theories and then you watch this trailer, you'd be like, okay, you can start connecting the dots a little bit. I don't know if it's going to ruin the experience of the movie. I don't know if it's going to ruin the movie as a whole. But if you don't know anything about the theories or rumors or anything like that, and you want to go in clean just based off the trailers itself, I would recommend that you stop listening to the trailer talk. Obviously, I always put the timestamps down below, so if you want to skip this part, you can, and just go check that out. I will say that, of course, in case you are going to leave, Halloween Ends will come out fairly soon. It comes out October 14th in theaters and streaming on Peacock as well. Okay. So now that all those people have left, let's talk about the rumors a little bit here that we got going on. So the rumor obviously is that Michael has kind of a copycat, or there was this interview, I guess, with the director, and he said that he kind of that Michael kind of has an accomplice or something like that, or something along those lines. And it's the new character named Corey, played by Rohan Campbell. He is the guy that we see in the tunnels that Michael grabs and is choking. And we get a little bit more in this trailer, a little bit, where it looks like Corey is looking into the eyes of Michael Myers, and there's the theory that maybe Michael sees something in him or something that's like him or whatever. So this new trailer Corey is telling someone off camera, presumably Laurie, that's who he's talking about, that if you think Michael is coming back after all these years, you're right, or something along those lines. It's very cryptic, and you're like, why would he know? I mean, I'm pretty sure at this point everyone knows the story of Laurie Strode and the families of Michael Myers and stuff like that, especially considering it's been 4 years after the events of Halloween Kills. But he seems very cryptic in the way he says it, like he has a genuine connection to Laurie, even though he really doesn't, because this is a brand new character. We've never seen it before. So that's one. And then there's a second part, the head shaking of Michael. We have never seen Michael shake his head at all. Like he is just a blankness. He's the Shape, as John Carpenter had originally titled him. He didn't really title him Michael Myers. He titled him and dubbed him the Shape. So seeing Michael kind of shake his head as Laurie is trying to take his mask off seems rather odd. But everything else we've seen in that kitchen scene makes it seem like it is him. So maybe they're pulling, and this is my theory. This isn't a theory that I've seen online, or maybe it is, and I just haven't come across it. Maybe we're getting a H2O resurrection thing, where maybe the first half of the movie, it's Laurie dealing with Corey in the Michael Myers outfit. And after he gets rid of, and I want to make that connection. I'm going to probably thread the line in that right now in a little bit, but maybe she's dealing with that. And then the second half of the movie, or at least maybe the final act of the movie, it's Michael coming back for Laurie. Like it's actually him, and that's him in the kitchen scene. And maybe he's kind of watching from the distance and seeing, what Corey did with Laurie, and maybe, Laurie takes the mask off, and that's where Michael's kind of playing with her a little bit. I don't know. That's just me over theorizing and stuff like that. So, and I mentioned that because there's a shot. So what did I mean by an interesting shot before? So there's a shot in the trailer where Laurie's in a cop car with Allison, the granddaughter, and she has blood all over her. Laurie does. And maybe that's Laurie after dealing with Corey, and because they're in the cop car, and it looks like there's like a crowd surrounding them. So I want to say that maybe that's, Laurie, that's probably after Laurie takes care of Corey, and like the townspeople are like, what are you doing? You're just, bringing back all these old wounds and memories, and what are you doing? So I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Again, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm joining thousands of people who are theorizing what's going on. The other theory, and this is a theory that, brought up in the first trailer, was the missing fingers theory, which is there's that shot of Michael or someone dressed like Michael opening the door and Laurie, pointing the gun at him. But if you look at the hand, that is the hand that supposedly is the hand that's missing all of Michael's fingers. Because obviously Michael lost his fingers in Halloween 2018 when Laurie shot them off with her shotgun. So a lot of people are saying that maybe it's an inverse shot. Maybe, it's, flipped. The image is flipped and he's using the other hand or whatever. But who knows? We'll have to obviously wait and see on that. Regardless of that, I'm looking forward toward Halloween Ends. I already bought my tickets. I already got my screening. I'm going to go watch it. And maybe I'll watch it again on Peacock if, I really like it again too. But I'm looking forward to this. I really, really loved Halloween 2018. I think I love it just as much as the original John Carpenter version. Halloween Kills was very divisive, and even to me, it's very divisive. There are a lot of parts that I like about it. There's a lot of parts that I think are just okay, and then there's some parts of it where I'm like, what are you doing? But it didn't kill my enthusiasm for the trilogy. I know that, the talk around, there was that weird interview, not a weird interview, but there was that interview that everyone found weird, where I think it was Jamie Lee Curtis was like, it's going to piss a lot of people off. Like that was a direct quote from that interview. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic, like I am for every movie, but especially for movies that I'm looking forward toward, I am still cautiously optimistic. I keep my hype and my expectations at the door and just enjoy the movie for what it is when I watch it, whether I'm doing it in theaters or whether I'm doing that at home. So hopefully this turns out good. Halloween Ends is obviously going to be the end of the trilogy that Blumhouse has with Universal. Obviously, if Universal wants to keep doing Halloween movies, they'll probably reboot it maybe in a few years or try to do direct sequels from this or something like that. Or, go back and take the same concept and do direct sequels to the other Halloween timeline that's going on. Maybe they'll bring back Danielle Harris as Jamie. Who knows? So we'll see what happens with that. But like I mentioned, Halloween Ends will open in theaters on October 14th and will stream on Peacock the same day. So you can either watch it in theaters or watch it at home or do both. So there you go. All right. All the other trailers, of course, are linked down below in the description/show notes area for all the trailers that came out this week. So go check those out. And now let's move on to the movie news items of the week. All right, so let's talk about some movie news items. First up, the runtime for Black Panther Wakanda Forever has been revealed, and it is a whopping 2 hours and 41 minutes. It is now the second longest superhero Marvel movie after Avengers Endgame. It's actually 26 minutes longer than the first Black Panther, which was at 2 hours and 15 minutes. And Black Panther Wakanda Forever will still come out later this year on November 11th. That is a long movie. That is almost a 3-hour movie, which there's this whole trend, and I think we've briefly talked about this on the podcast before, of a lot of movies, a lot of big movies too, a lot of big studio movies recently, especially during the pandemic, have all been fairly long. They're all over like 2:30. And that is kind of, I don't want to say it's a bad trend, because I'm not really a person that's like, a movie needs to be an hour and a half long, or a movie needs to be, 2 hours long. Like, no, I'm not that kind of person. If the story you're trying to tell needs 2.5 hours, then okay, as long as you make a good movie in those 2.5 hours, then I'm fine with it. But I do feel like that trend recently, especially once, the pandemic started, a lot of these movies have been, longer and longer. And I get it, you got to get butts and seats. And a lot of times, big, audiences don't seem to mind either, because a lot of those movies have been fairly successful at the box office. The running time doesn't really, I don't know if the running time means a lot to people anymore. It doesn't matter to you guys listening. Like, do you care? Do you look at a movie's runtime before you decide to buy a ticket and be like, well, I think most people do, because they got to figure out what they're going to do for the rest of the day. But for me, it's like, I really don't, I'm gonna be honest, I usually don't look at a movie's runtime, like, unless I know how long a movie, like, obviously, even when I'm buying a ticket online or like with the app, because I have AMC stubs. And that's kind of what I use. I don't look at the runtime's there, but I usually avoid it just because I'm trying to buy my ticket. So I usually don't really know how long a movie is until I'm either buying the ticket or until I realize like, oh, this is what time the movie's going to end, or, or whatever. So I don't care about a movie's runtime unless you start to feel it. And I feel like there's only been a handful of movies recently, especially during the pandemic era of movies, where I have felt the runtime, where I know that the movie's long and I'm starting to feel it a little bit. And depending on, how good and enthralling the movie is, I usually don't really mind and don't really care. So I don't know, maybe I'm just, speaking to a wall. Maybe you guys don't care, but I just feel like that is a trend that has been coming in Hollywood. And I do feel like some people are, been noticing that a lot more recently. But for Black Panther, the Marvel movie, we're used to big, long superhero movies too, especially recently. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. All that said, I do feel like the length is probably appropriate for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, because this, for all intents and purposes, is an event film. It's a sequel to Black Panther, which itself was treated as an event film, as it should have been. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever will be treated as an event film for multiple reasons. It is a sequel to Black Panther, which was also very highly successful, but it is also dealing with the untimely passing of Chadwick Boseman. And they're going to integrate that into the story. They're going to integrate T'Challa's passing in the story as well. And Kevin Feige, did an interview and said that the reason why he didn't recast T'Challa is because it felt too soon to recast T'Challa. I just saw the headline. I honestly did not see the interview because I was getting ready for work, and I just saw the headline and I totally forgot about it until I literally just mentioned it to you guys right before I started recording. But I don't know if in the interview he says, something along the lines that maybe we will recast T'Challa at some point. Who knows? A lot of people are theorizing that T'Challa will come back in some way, shape, or form with a new actor, obviously. They're not going to try to do, any of the CGI, the uncanny valley kind of stuff that they usually do sometimes, like Star Wars has done with General Tarkin and stuff like that. So obviously they're dealing with that. They're dealing with a major death of a character that I'm sure Marvel was hinging its future on in Black Panther, in T'Challa, with Chadwick Boseman. So I feel like it's important because obviously they're going to treat it like, yes, T'Challa passed away, but also the man that played him passed away. So I feel like it's the length to have an appropriate response to all that. I think it feels it's appropriate that this movie is long. That's what I'm trying to say. So, all right, there you go. 2 hours, 41 minutes for Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Plan accordingly, I guess, on November 11th when the movie comes out. That's not the final Marvel tidbit we're going to talk about this week anyway, mind you. But we're going to break it up, and we're going to have another movie news item here with Paramount. Paramount has removed the untitled 4th Star Trek movie from its schedule. The movie was supposed to come out next year on December 22nd. However, last month, the movie lost its director, Mike Shankman, who was one of the main directors for WandaVision, but he left to go and direct Fantastic Four. And that left the 4th Star Trek movie without a director. And now they have taken it off the release schedule completely. The 4th Star Trek movie was planned to bring back its core cast in Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, John Cho, and Simon Pegg, although no story details were announced at that point. The project did feel a little screwy from the get-go because the 4th movie was announced in February during the Paramount's Global Investors Day. However, when they made that announcement, they said, yes, we're doing a new Star Trek movie that's coming with the original cast. But after the announcement came out, reports started trickling in that the core cast that they have mentioned had not officially signed anything and didn't even know they were announcing another Star Trek movie. So now that the movie's off the schedule, Paramount has more time to secure everything like its cast and find a new director. I'm assuming they're probably doing that as we speak, but there you go. I actually am a fan of the J.J. Abrams produced Star Trek movies. He will come back, by the way, to produce this one as well with his production company Bad Robot. I really liked the 2009 Star Trek movie. That was one of my favorite movies that came out that year. I watch it every time I get the chance. Star Trek Into Darkness, I watched it recently, and I remember not liking that movie when I first watched it. I thought it was okay. I probably shouldn't have said I didn't like it. I thought it was okay. But I watched it again recently, and I was like, you know what? This isn't too bad. I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap. I think because of the con thing with Benedict Cumberbatch. But it's not too bad of a movie once you get kind of once you know that and once you get past it, it's not that bad of a movie. And Star Trek Beyond, probably I did like it when it first came out. Then I watched it again recently. I was like, so like, my thoughts on Into Darkness and Beyond kind of flipped a little bit. But I still think Beyond's a passable, decent, fun movie. Whether you think it's Star Trek or not, it's I'm not gonna get into an argument with Trekkie fans because I'm not the biggest Trekkie fan out there. So, but I am a fan of Star Trek, just not, the gigantic fan that a lot of other people are claiming to be or are. I'm not saying claiming, like I'm making fun of you. All right, moving on. I don't want to bury myself into a hole that I don't need to. So next up on the movie news, talked about Marvel. Told you, taking a little break. We're going back to Marvel. Marvel's Blade has lost its director and Bassam Tariq. He directed Mongol Mowgli with Riz Ahmed, in case you want to go watch what the other project he did. But they lost a director before production was set to start in November. So they were supposed to start in a couple months. They did release a statement, and in that statement, they basically said that there was a shift in production and that Tariq is no longer involved, that he will stay on as an executive producer on the movie. But that was pretty much it as far as Marvel releasing a statement on that. The movie does, of course, have Mahershala Ali set to play Blade. Aaron Pierre from the TV series Krypton and the Underground Railroad. He was also in M. Night Shyamalan's Old. And Delroy Lindo are also set to star in the movie, although their roles are currently unknown at the moment. The initial report that came out of Tariq leaving also noted that the movie was going through several rounds of script rewrites with a new writer in Beau DeMayo. Now, he has worked on TV shows like Star Trek, Strange New World, and The Witcher. He also recently worked on the Moon Knight TV series for Disney+. So obviously they want to keep it a little bit in the family. So he's currently the new writer of the movie. The initial script was written by Stacey Osei Kolfar, I think I pronounce the name. I apologize if it's not, but they wrote on HBO's Watchmen. So from one, prolific TV series to another, to, get Blade off the ground. But, and I say but, there was other bit of news that was coming out, and this came through Jeff Snyder. Jeff Snyder used to work at I forgot where he worked. I think it was Slash Film, maybe. But he's a movie insider. He gets a lot of news from people, sources, and stuff like that. So he's one of those guys. Usually reliable. Jeff Snyder is. Usually. For the most part. Not all the time, but usually. But he came out and said that Ali was very frustrated with the movie's progress and process because, and this is a big part, Kevin Feige was spread too thin, which, I don't know if you can really, yes, because now Kevin Feige has to deal with TV series instead of just movies. That's probably true. But, the next, besides Black Panther coming out next, everything else I think is kind of either done or on the verge of being done or being worked on, but in the early phases of being worked on. So I don't know if that's whatever. But the Ali being frustrated with the process and progress of the movie, that could be true. Obviously, now losing director 2 months before production is supposed to begin, not usually the best sign. But Jeff Snyder also reported that the script was reportedly 90 pages long, which would have made it a very short movie. And I don't know, maybe not sufficient enough for a introduction to a character like Blade that is very beloved by many fans. And also, the script had two lackluster action sequences. How much of that is true? Who knows? But losing director 2 months to production, it isn't necessarily anything new for Marvel. Marvel has lost directors. Obviously, recently, Scott Derrickson left Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and they ended up getting Sam Raimi. Whether that was a good decision or not, that's, your opinion, to each of their own. John Watts also recently, somewhat recently, he was the original director for Fantastic Four. He left, and then that's when Marvel, just assigned Max Shankman, or hired Max Shankman, not assigned to him, hired Max Shankman to direct Fantastic Four. Of course, they've also lost Edgar Wright for Ant-Man, and then they got Peyton Reed. So it's not, Marvel, we always say, Marvel's a well-oiled machine when it comes to this, everything people want to say about the company, spreading spreading their animators too far and thin, which, yes, that is obviously a big problem. You want to give, your animators, your CGI experts more than enough time. We have not talked about that in the podcast because just haven't found a good way to get into that. But yes, you should give your visual effects experts more than enough time, especially if your movies are visual effects heavy. But, Marvel, for the most part, well-oiled machine. Some problem comes up, they delay a movie, they find someone relatively quick. So I'm going to say that they're probably going to find someone relatively quick to find Blade. I don't know if they can find that person within the next 2 months, because that's when production is expected to start. So we could see a delay in the production of Blade. Right now, Blade still has its release date of November 3rd of next year. So, I mean, if they can find a director within the next couple months, or literally right before production starts, that they can probably still make their release date, or they might have to delay Blade, which would be a shame, especially considering they just gave it a release date not too long ago. But we'll have to wait and see on that. So I'll be honest, I have not seen Mongol Mowgli, so I don't know Basim Tariq's directing style or anything like that. I thought it was a very interesting choice that they went with a relatively unknown director, which I think that's always a kind of a good choice. Marvel's giving these directors a chance to get themselves in the spotlight for stuff like that. But we'll have to see who they end up getting. Obviously, whoever they end up getting, whether they go right into production right away, they're going to be thrown to the lions then, and we'll have to wait and see on that. But all right, moving on to the final movie news item. Again, at least at the time of this recording, big movie news item. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna be very picky on what I choose. I know there was a bunch of other stuff that came out this week, but very choosy on what I'm doing, because I want to get these podcasts out as soon as possible, obviously. And then my very hectic couple weeks recently do not help. But anyway, the final movie news item at the time of this recording is, in a very cool announcement video, Ryan Reynolds not only revealed officially that Deadpool 3 is coming and it will be part of the MCU, he also gave a release date for the movie and a major return as well that has ruled the internets. If you live under a rock and somehow did not know who I'm talking about, seriously, I guess you're about to be surprised. First, I want to say though, Deadpool 3 will be coming out on September 6th, 2024. However, it is still unclear if the movie will be coming out in theaters or if it will be coming out on Disney+. However, considering who is coming back, it would be a major missed opportunity to put this on Disney+. I love Disney+. Disney releasing movies on Disney+ is not a bad thing. It is not. I know a lot of people are saying that it is. It's not. It's a good thing. But with this particular return, I feel like, yes, you should put this in theaters and it will get everybody's butts in seats. Hugh Jackman is coming back to play Logan Wolverine in Deadpool 3.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Oh, it's so good. So Jackman was in the video to Ryan Reynolds. He released his video. Ryan Reynolds, by the way, killing it in the viral online marketing campaign, whether it's for Mint Mobile, whether it's for Aviation Gin, which is the gin company, or whether it's for, the other stuff that he's doing along the way. He's doing great. Him and his team in the online marketing are doing awesome. And this is kind of what it was. So it's Ryan Reynolds. He's sitting down on the couch and he's saying that, hey, I'm sorry I missed D23. We're all upset about that. We're sorry, but let's make it up to you guys. And he's talking about Deadpool 3 and he's saying that it's coming. And he's walking in nature. He's working out. Eventually he has the blacked out costume that he wore in Deadpool 2. And he's sitting on the toilet at one point and he's reading a comic book. And then he's, back in his regular clothes, sitting on the couch, and he's like, I got nothing. He's talking up this game like he has the perfect story, the awesome story for Deadpool 3. And then it just goes to him and is like, no, I got nothing. and then Hugh Jackman walks behind him and he's like, hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time? And Hugh Jackman, perfectly, so disinterested in anything that Ryan Reynolds is saying. He's like, yeah, sure, Ryan. And he just walks up the stairs. And then Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You starts playing. And then as the logo is about to appear. As it says coming soon, it says coming Hugh, because obviously it's Hugh Jackman, and then you get the logo, Deadpool, the face logo, obviously, and then the Wolverine claws slash it, obviously making the 3. Awesome. Perfect way to announce not only Deadpool 3, but also that Hugh Jackman's coming back. Because obviously the Hugh Jackman bit has been something. The Hugh Jackman and Wolverine bit in the 2 Deadpool movies have just been knockouts. And it's just even better because Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are actually good friends. So it's perfect. I thought it was perfect. Literally a day later, literally the next day, I think this came out on Tuesday, so this part came out on Wednesday, Ryan and Hugh Jackman released another video and them sitting on the couch. And at first they're like, we know you have questions. And Reynolds says that Logan is its own thing. They're not going to touch that. Perfect. Obviously, everyone had that question, like, how is he coming back? Logan died. Logan, besides being set in the future, and it was its own thing, and it's a different universe or whatever, so we don't know what's going on. So there is that. And then they were like, okay, so we're going to release story details. Quote unquote, release story details. And then as they start talking, Jitterbug starts playing. Wake Me Up Before You Go starts playing over them, and they're just miming everything, and it looks like they're stabbing each other playfully. It's perfect. I mentioned on my Twitter, I was like, just keep doing these videos until the movie comes out, because this is just gold. This is perfect. So it's awesome. So yeah, so Hugh Jackman's coming back to play Wolverine. I am more than excited for it. I don't care that Logan died. I'm probably one of the handful of people that really liked Logan when it came out. Admittedly, I have not watched it since it first came out. And there's a lot of people out there that, don't like Logan, that didn't appreciate, or not appreciate, that's probably the wrong word to use. They just didn't like it. And they didn't, whatever about it. I liked it when it first came out. I thought it was a fitting end to Logan, the way they played it out, the way that the story that they were trying to tell was a fitting end to that. Was it the fitting end in general to Hugh Jackman not playing Wolverine anymore? So again, I have to go watch it again, up for debate, whatever. But I'm excited for this. So Reynolds isn't the only one returning. Leslie Ugsman is coming back. She plays Blind Al, usually Wade's roommate in the movie. So she's coming back as well, which is a nice little touch. No word yet got anybody else coming back, but there you go. Sean Levy, who directed Free Guy and The Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds, is gonna direct Deadpool 3. So that's a pretty nasty combo, guys. I mean, Free Guy and The Adam Project, 2 very, very good movies. Ryan Reynolds was great in both of them. And it just seems like Levy understands. Levy and Reynolds just have great chemistry together. And seeing what they've done before and, knowing that they're going to jump into this crazy universe of Deadpool 3 and the MCU and the convoluted timeline, which they have mentioned in the Deadpool movies, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be awesome. So once again, Deadpool 3 will come out on September 6th, 2024. That is it. That is all the news I have, at least at the time of this recording, obviously. If anything else big drops, it's probably going to come out on Twitter, or I'll put it up on Twitter, because obviously I can't, go back and put stuff after it's uploaded. You guys know that. Well, probably some of you guys are listening are podcast people. So, all right, I'm losing my mind. So let's wrap up this podcast with the movies that are coming out on streaming and theaters for all your viewing pleasures.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
All right. So I do want to mention, we're going to, of course, start off with streaming and VOD movies. I do want to mention that Rob Zombie's The Munsters has already dropped on Netflix. They dropped in the middle of the week. I've mentioned the Rob Zombie's Munsters on the podcast when the trailer first dropped. I'm not going to watch it because I thought that was one of the first trailers I've ever seen in my life. I'm not a big Rob Zombie director fan. I can't do it. More power to you if you watch it, but I'm not going to watch that movie. But it's up on Netflix if you want to go watch it. It's going to come out on VOD and Blu-ray relatively soon. I think next month for sure is what I saw. But nope, not doing it. The next movie on streaming, this is going to be on Prime Video, My Best Friend's Exorcism. Teen best friends Abby and Gretchen, played by Elsie Fisher and Amaya Miller, grapple with the otherworldly demon that takes up residence in Gretchen's body. This is based off a novel by Grady Hendrix. Sorry about that. But yeah, this looks relatively fun. I'll just say that. It looks relatively fun. Elsie Fisher, of course, from 8th grade, and the unfortunately new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie on Netflix that came out earlier this year. And Amaya Miller, I know I've seen her in something, and I forgot to put it down on my notes. I forgot what she was in, but I know I've seen that name before. I just can't remember where she's from. But yeah, it looks fun. It looks like a fun movie. Yeah, it's on Prime Video if you want to go check that out. Arguably, the big streaming movie coming out this week, of course, is Hocus Pocus 2 on Disney+. The movie follows 3 young women who accidentally bring back the Sanderson sisters, who, of course, will be played once again by Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker, to modern-day Salem, and must figure out how to stop the child-hungry witches from wreaking havoc on the world. Doug Jones will also return as Billy Butcherson. I grew up watching the first one all the time, and I know it's always on. Freeform has it on all the time for 31 Days of Halloween, so I'm definitely going to have to watch the first Hocus Pocus movie because I haven't watched it in a while, to be completely honest, but I definitely want to watch the first one again so I can watch this one. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for it, and as they should. That movie has a lot of love. It's got a cult following behind it, and now we're getting the second one up on Disney+. It's out right now. I'm sure some of you have probably already watched it. So I'm going to be joining that train soon because I do want to watch what they got going on for this. All right. And the last movie, I'm bringing this up last because it's coming out on Apple TV+, but it's also opening in a few theaters. This is The Greatest Beer Run Ever. This is based on the very true story of Chicky Donahue, who in the movie is played by Zac Efron, who in 1967 leaves New York to bring a beer to his childhood buddies in the army while they're fighting in Vietnam. The movie is directed by Peter Farrelly, who of course directed Green Book. He's directed a bunch of other comedies as well, but Green Book is the last movie that, of course, he directed. He's shifting from straight-up comedies to dramedies, and this is one of them. It does co-star Russell Crowe as a photographer that Zac Efron meets along their way, and Bill Murray, and I'm assuming probably just a very small role. He looks like he's playing a bar owner in the movie. Greatest beer run ever made. This looks pretty good too from the trailer that I saw. The fact that this really happened is mind-boggling to me. So I don't know how true it's going to be, because obviously a lot of inaccuracies came with Peter Farrelly's last movie, which was Green Book, and everyone kind of everyone taking jabs at the true story and how Peter Farrelly addressed the events that happened of these two people's lives. So I haven't heard anything about The Greatest Beer Run Ever, to be completely honest. I haven't seen reviews for it. I don't know if there's an embargo. I just have been missing it. I saw one commercial on TV. The only reason I know this came out because I have it on my list, but I've seen one commercial on TV for this movie, and yeah, but there you go. All right, and in theaters, like I mentioned, The Greatest Beer Run is in theaters. I don't know if it's a limited run. I think it might be a limited run just because it's also on Apple TV+. Just be aware of that. But in theaters, let's talk about 2 limited releases. The first one is Dead for $1. This is a Western movie, and it follows a famed bounty hunter who runs into his sworn enemy, a professional gambler and outlaw that he had sent to prison years before. The movie has a very big star-studded cast: Christoph Waltz, William Dafoe, Rachel Brosnahan, Hamish Linklater, and Benjamin Bratt all star. Not too bad. If anything, you're going to watch this movie for the cast. If anything, I'm going to watch this movie for the cast. Christoph Waltz, Willem Dafoe, Rachel Brosnahan from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, in case any of you need a face to the name. So yeah, I'm definitely going to watch this if I get the chance. I don't know if I'll watch it in theaters, but I'm definitely going to watch it here at home because it doesn't look too bad. Honestly, does not look too bad. Also limited in theaters this week, a A24 movie, God's Creatures. In a windswept fishing village, a mother is torn between protecting her beloved son and her own sense of right and wrong. A lie she tells for him rips apart their family and close-knit community they are a part of. This looks very, very good. This doesn't look like the typical A24 movie where something crazy is going to happen in the end, although who knows? Who knows? But this does look more like a straightforward drama. I saw the trailer for this when it first came out. I think we maybe briefly talked about it on the podcast when it did. But this looks really good. This does not look like you're going to be walking away happy and cheery. And when this movie looks like it's going to break you. So there you go. God's Creatures, A24, a limited release this week. Your 2 wide releases this week. The first one is Bros. 2 gay men with commitment problems attempt a relationship. Billy Eichner wrote and leads the movie in what is said to be the first big studio movie with a gay lead in it, which is very, very cool and also very, very sad that is the case. But still very, very cool this is happening. Billy Eichner is it looks like he's super proud of this movie's finally getting made, and he's a part of it, and he gets to tell this story. The movie does look pretty good and pretty funny. So I'm gonna be honest, I did not know a lot about Billy Eichner, and then when I learned that he was the Billy on the Street guy, didn't know what that was. For the first, I had to look it up because I didn't know who it was. So, but I've seen him now, and I've seen all the skits, and they're very funny, and he's very funny. So. I'm looking forward to this, and this does look genuinely funny. It does, and yeah, and there will be no hate for this movie on my podcast. Just telling you that right now. So this looks pretty good. Hopefully, I get a chance to go watch it in theaters with everything going on. But the other wide release coming out is a horror movie, Smile. After witnessing a bizarre, traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. Rose must confront her troubling past in order to survive and escape her horrifying new reality. The movie stars Sosie Bacon. Yes, this is the daughter of Kevin Bacon, which I realized not too long ago. Jesse T. Usher, aka A-Train from The Boys, and Kyle Gallner, who's been in a bunch of stuff. I don't know if there's one particular thing that people will probably know him from, but Smile. This is also based off a short called Laura Can't Sleep. One of the girls, I think I forgot to see who it was, but in the trailer, if you've seen the trailer, you've probably seen the trailer a lot, especially if you go in movies, because the trailer plays on a lot of movies. But in the trailer, or even in the TV spots too, the main doctor, she's talking to her patient, the patient that, that the synopsis mentions. The one that, smiles and then breaks something and then looks like she's carving her face up. She's actually in the original short, which is pretty cool. So I don't know if she's playing Laura in the movie, but in the short, Laura Can't Sleep, which I think you can find online somewhere. I forgot to look that up. I always try to find these shorts, because this is a big trend in Hollywood, obviously with horror movies, where they take a horror short that's really, really good and they turn it into a feature-length movie. And sometimes they're really good, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're forgotten about. But like I was saying, they brought her back for the movie, which I think is really, really cool. I don't think they brought back the director. I think it's a different director from the horror short. But this is really cool. Although it probably is the same director, because they do that a lot too. They bring back the original director for the horror short to come back and direct the full-fledged movie. So that could be the case. I forgot to look that up. But I know that the girl that we see in the trailers that is the person that, that kills herself in front of the doctor, our main character, is the girl from the original short. But this is getting a lot of good reviews. A lot of people are saying that it's really, really good. And that is saying something, because this movie was supposed to come out on Paramount Plus. It was only supposed to come out on Paramount Plus, but test screenings for the movie were very, very high, and higher than Paramount originally had thought the movie would get. And that's when they shifted and they're like, okay, we're going to release this movie in theaters. So that's pretty cool. And it's getting a lot of good reviews so far. A lot of people who have seen it are saying that it's really, really good and scary, which is awesome, because horror this year has been surprisingly very, very good. I forgot what I was hearing, because I heard it on a podcast. I forgot what podcast it was, but they were like, this year's horror movies is like horror movies from the 80s. I think they mentioned specifically 85 or 84 horror, which was like the good year of horror movies in Hollywood, that they're comparing 2022, if not to that grand scale of what 84 and 85 was, that 2022 is on that. It should be on that list of great year of horror movies. Arguably, I can't say that that's not true. I haven't seen a lot of the other big horror movies that have come out so far this year that I really want to watch, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard of a lot of horror movies this year, I think the abundance of horror movies this year has been very, very good. I think people, I think studios have been sitting on these horror movies, and they're just like, you know what, we're just going to release them. And they just happen to release all of them this year. And Smile's no different. And so that's pretty cool. Also, the marketing for this thing is unbelievable. I didn't know this because I wasn't watching the game that had happened. I don't watch Good Morning America. But our good friend, I say our good friend, even though I had like one conversation with him on a podcast, Ethan Simi over at 15 Minutes of Marvel, and also runs the 824 and 24 Minutes podcast. He brought this to my attention. So good job, Ethan. That apparently the marketing team for Smile put two different people in right behind home plate at a baseball game. And they were smiling the whole time. Didn't move, nothing. They stood up at one point and they were smiling the whole time. Dead center at the camera. So good job on the Smile marketing team. Good job on Paramount if they were able to do that and get permission from the Major League Baseball and whatever stadium that was in. Good job on them. That is awesome. And then they put someone in front of, how I don't know if you ever watch Good Morning America, but they usually do their show like at a ground level of a building, and you can see outside the building, and you can see people that are looking in. They had a lady, I don't know if it was the same one from the baseball game or a different lady, literally stand outside, putting the creepy, smile and holding that smile the whole time. That's awesome. That is awesome marketing for a movie that, there's probably not going to be, it's going to do well amongst the horror crowd, but like normal people, normal moviegoers who probably don't watch horror movies are going to be like, what the hell's going on? What is this? What's going on? Us who love horror movies and love, clever marketing tricks, that's awesome. That is just great. And I really hope that the movie's good now, because you can't do that and have a bad movie. You can't. You really can't. And kudos to the people who did that, because that's really cool. That's really awesome. So yeah, there you go. Your movies this week: Smile and Bros are your wide releases. Limited releases this week: God's Creatures and Dead for $1. You have The Greatest Beer Run Ever in theaters and on Apple TV Plus. My Best Friend's Exorcism on Prime Video. The Munsters, which is already dropped on Netflix. You want to go check that out. And of course, Hocus Pocus 2 on Disney Plus. That is it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. I am running out of breath, and I'm pretty sure you can tell because I've been speed running this for this last part. I don't know why. I can slow down. I can go as fast as I want or as slow as I want on this podcast. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. You guys are awesome. You guys are great. You guys are always awesome and great. No matter where you're listening to the podcast: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Anchor, wherever it is. Thank you guys so much. If you want another platform that you listen to your podcast, please let me know and I will try to put the podcast up there. I won't try. I will put the podcast up there. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. October, because it's next week, literally. It's literally tomorrow. It's spooky season. I will be releasing a podcast tomorrow, an introduction to what I will be doing here on the Movie Pit podcast in terms of spooky season. I've already pre-recorded 2 episodes. They're coming out. They will be happening. Be on the lookout for that. I'm really excited for that, to be doing those episodes, because I've been trying to do spooky season stuff on the podcast since it's been up. It's been 6 years, and I have not done one spooky season. That is a shame. That is a damn shame on my part, and I am sorry that is the case. So that's what I'll be doing. So be on the lookout for that, and obviously go check out all the links down below in the description/show notes area. All the trailers are down there. All the social medias are down there. Other stuff's going to be down there. The Ryan Reynolds video, that if you guys wanted to watch it, is down there if you haven't watched it yet, or you want to watch it again. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I very much appreciate it. I'll see you guys for spooky season. I'll see you guys for the weekly roundup of news. Yeah, it's October already. Can you believe it? It's going to be October already. That's mind-boggling to me. But yeah, all right. Thank you guys. I will see you guys next week or tomorrow, basically, for the other podcast special. But yeah, thank you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Be good people, be safe, and as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!